Hello and welcome to Learn Python the Hard Way, exercise 37. Now, this exercise is not difficult. It's another memorization exercise. What we want to do, in this exercise is get any gaps you might have in Python keywords closed up. Because we're going to start using Python to do certain things, and we're going to learn object-oriented programming. So if this stuff isn't really solid, then when you go forward, it's going to be difficult for you to read it. Consider this sort of like completing your vocabulary before you continue with your studies. Now, most of these are going to be familiar to you. Some of them are not. For example, lambda. I think I've used lambda 5 times the whole time I've been programming in Python. But you have to know how they work. Pass is a really good one, so on. Okay. Then we're going to get into data types, but these are the base data types that Python 3 has. And for the most part, you can remember these. They're straightforward. We're going to cover dictionaries, dicts, later, but just be able to say when you see a dict, when you see something like that, you go, oh, that's a dictionary. And we'll get into how that works later. Now, you've done the string escapes, no problem. One thing I want to go over really quick is this old style string formatting. Okay, and it would be good for you to punch some of these into the Python shell to see what it does. So if you grab that, okay, and go over to the Python shell, and basically just punch it in. Oh, wrong one. Oh yeah, that's right. My copy paste skills are very, very poor. And then back to here. There we go. Okay, what you're going to see is these %Ds, that kind of thing. It's similar to this with format, with the F strings. So if I were to do this as format, it would be F45 is the way to do it with format. When you use variables, it's going to be like x equals 45, okay, and then %D, %x. That's doing the exact same thing as fx, like that. These % symbols come from C code. I believe C was the first one to really do something like this. Maybe other languages did it, but C is the one that stuck. And so it's old codes that people use. So memorizing what these do and playing with this code over here to sort of make sure that you know how to do it will really help you when you learn other languages, because these kinds of things are in a lot of languages. A whole bunch of them still use this because they're very handy. They work really well. Next, we have a whole bunch of operators, and significant ones to look at are the division, difference between that division and that division. So if I were to go back to my Python shell, we've got division like this, where we do 5 divided by 4, right? That gives me a fractional element. But if I do 2 division signs, I get non-fractional, integer. So it's called floor division. Now, what's really interesting is older Python, Python 2, I believe does the reverse of these. So that can trip people up. If you're doing a lot of division, it's good to know the difference between the two languages. Incidentally, the change, I believe, and someone mentioned this, but basically everyone expects division to work like this, but for whatever reason, a lot of programming languages make it work like that. So they just flipped it around, since most people complain that it's not this. They expect it to be a fractional response, like a floating point, but it was giving this kind of response, so they switched it. Okay. So once you've got all that, you're supposed to go find some code to read. Now, one big question that comes up is what kind of code can you read? And so part of this exercise is just finding some code to read. So you just go somewhere and find code to read. But if you can't find any code to read, then what you should do is pop to the end of the book, go down to anything, your first website, and read the code in this exercise, because there's code in here that's pretty complicated, and you can go through this whole thing and try to read this, and it will probably be very educational, just as educational as if you found your own project or some other project online. And it's got some HTML in here. It would be really good. But if you can find a project on GitHub, then you should do that. Okay, that's pretty much the end of 37. And let me do a little preview of what we've got. We've got 37, and then we're going to do some more lists and some more dictionaries.